Oh, fucking hell. Fucking hell. So Ipswich won, Man United won. And we got to everybody that's tuned in. That's underwhelming. Very, very underwhelming. But do you know what? Do you know what? I can't say that I'm all that surprised because I see it a lot. I've seen it a lot, right? A lot of people are like, oh, 3 nil, 4 nils, 5 nils, 6 nils. People saying 9 nils. And I'm like, one, people forget that this is Ipswich away. They're not an easy place to go. Two, these players have not had new manager bounces since Ranić took over. And that new manager bounce lasted for 45 minutes. After that, we haven't had a new manager bounce since. These players don't give a flying fuck. They don't give a sailing fuck. They don't give a driving fuck. They don't give any fucks. There's zero fucks to give. None to give. Same players, same problems, shitty attitudes, crappy body language. Same old, same old. New manager, new system. Now, some people might say, well, look, it's a new system in the Premier League. Man United have not played a 3-4-3 before. You know, contrary to belief, I don't believe we have in our history. I don't think we played with a 3-4-3, and here we are, like the first of something new. But it's not the maybe incoherence, right? That we've got a big issue with here. Not so much incoherence. It's the fact that the players had the opportunity to really push to perform, right? To deliver individual performances where they tried to play well, to set an example. But in doing what they've done, they've started by disappointing the manager that's meant to be their boss for at the very least the next 3 years, three years or more, right? The manager that Ineos have appointed and are going to back to be the big difference maker. They watched the tail end of Ten Hag look like he was absolutely out of his goddamn mind. And I think to some extent we can say, well, yeah, he was. It was a little far gone, but the players hold a huge amount of responsibility. Today, we saw no different. Ruud van Nistelrooy, we saw no different. Players don't really throw themselves into the game. They don't. They don't try. And it's, same old, same story. The question is, what do we do about it? Biggest races, Ruud van Nistelrooy probably laughing his bollocks off, saying, "I told you this would happen." Well, I suppose he's busy trying to get that Leicester job right now because Steve Cooper's gone. So I'd imagine, looking for a Premier League outfit, you might be clawing to get into that job. Either that or I don't know about West Ham, but possibly. United midfield are too easy to play against. Yeah, Casemiro and Eriksen, absolutely no pace, no tenacity, and very lackluster. No real work rate whatsoever. And I think one thing that was very prevalent today was it's literally the case that the midfield from beyond the defence and midfield don't transition the ball into the attack very well. And I think that's individual issues. Those are individual issues. I think we do need to sign some other creators in the midfield and out wide. I mean, the wide players, Amad Diallo is probably the best performing outfield player on the pitch by a landslide. I think Mazraoui was all right. De Ligt was all right. Everyone else was, everyone else I thought was quite disappointing. Quite disappointing. Rashford, aside from his goal, absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. And yeah, sure, maybe he didn't have as many chances created for him, but again, the body language sucked ass. the energy levels were non-existent. I would have run faster today. He looks like he's got no pace whatsoever. He doesn't look like he's hungry for the fight. Like no real show of physicality. You know, it's like he turned it on just for the goal. He looked like he just turned it on for the goal, and then that was it. His night was done. Tune out for the rest of the game. Everyone else had difficulties um, making a performance worthwhile. Bruno Fernandes played 90 minutes today. Very, very lackluster game. Garnacho, lackluster. Had a chance or two in the first half. That was it. That's as good as it got. As I've said, Casemiro and Eriksen, no energy, no pace, and the inability to close down danger, where Amari Hutchinson posed the danger. Weren't interested in closing down. So even with a defensive scenario where we played with a back five, we transitioned 3-4-3 in possession, transition to a back five when in defensive scenarios. But one thing's very prevalent is that if not for Onana's saves today, we probably should have lost that game 2-3-1 thereabouts. I think we should have lost that game. But Ipswich didn't really play the most scintillating stuff either. So we could say that's testament to just how bad Man United were. I know it's Ipswich at home; they're the home team, but still, you'd expect you'd expect Man United players to want it more. You would absolutely expect Man United players to want it more, but we didn't see it. We didn't see the effort levels that a new manager's first game should warrant, even if you haven't got the fitness. I mean, Amorim did speak about it. You know, we haven't got athletes here, and they're not footballers either. So what the fuck are they? Who are these people? What are they? What profession? What trade have they come from? Because if they're not footballers and they're not athletes and they're kicking a football around on the pitch, what are they? Does anybody know? Does anybody literally know who these what these players are? It's absolutely crazy. Big ups to Anthony Herbert. Hi Fuzzy, thank fuck I just caught you live. Thank fuck YouTube seems to be working, I suppose. I press your like button as well, so thank you very much. Big ups to you, and big ups to everybody else who does smash the likes. Make sure you keep doing so. He needs time, but it was a poor performance in my opinion. Van Nistelrooy in. Well, if you're Leicester and West Ham, maybe Van Nistelrooy in. But yeah, and do you know what? I think some people are saying that we're sort of glad that it wasn't a blowout performance from the get-go, very first game, like everyone was predicting 4-0, 5-0 as such. I think a part of us perhaps should be glad that we didn't do that, because then it's not like, oh, well, okay, these players are fine. You don't get that impression. You know, a January transfer window is right around the corner. I think Ineos might be thinking, oh my God, how is it possible for these players to play so bad? Like, we've just given them a new manager. We've just given them hope. And they've just done that. No, thank you. Meetings with these players on Monday morning and some serious warnings. Anybody else want to slack off the job, piss about? There's a January transfer window coming up and you'll be straight out the door. We'll be forcing you out. And I think Ineos need to do that for Ruben Amorim. Between now and January, anybody that doesn't perform and does not pick up the slack, and some players will pick up the slack, they will, because some players will need time to sort of get into the gist of playing in the way that Amorim wants to play. But ultimately, Ineos, it's time to step up and pick out these players that are not doing the job they should be doing, and outright saying, you're not fit for this club. You're not fit to wear this shirt. We are forcing you out. I don't care what a contract clause says. Sue us if you have to. We are kicking you out of this club. We are forcing you out. And that's what they need to do. You need to force players out because they're too comfortable. Even if they say, well, I'm not going to leave. Okay, fine. Don't leave. Don't leave. You won't play. You just won't play. As simple as that. You won't play. We won't pick you. Enjoy watching your football career, or whatever's left of it, get absolutely flushed down the toilet. And people will remember you as the class clown that failed at football. Imagine that. You finish your career and everyone only remembers you for the arsehole you were at a big football club, and then left football with your tail tucked between your legs. Imagine that. Imagine that. That's crazy to me. Crazy to me. Um, Fuck off. Cooper has been sacked. Yeah, he was sacked from Nottingham Forest recently. Walked into Leicester, and so Leicester guys just came to the city out of reaches of Leicester and just like, nah, mate, turn around. And he was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, just sacked him straight away. Insta sack. Surprised he got sacked from Nottingham Forest. I didn't think he would have been sacked by now. Bigots, words and pictures. Hope everything is well with you. Cooper for West Ham, 20 points. They're relegated. Well, I'll tell you what. Cooper has a little bit of experience, just a little bit, with big squads, where his bosses sign a huge plethora of players. So maybe there is a bit of a realm of familiarity there, that Cooper could get something from that job. Only one game, but Portuguese managers don't have longevity. Amorim has question marks. Not for me. Not for me. One thing that I think is a lesson to all football fans and players and everything that's related to football. Everybody that has relation to football, far and wide. The biggest lesson that you can ever be taught is these players at Manchester United Football Club are fucking snakes. All of like a huge chunk of them tend to be snakes. A huge chunk of them. And there's a very venomous, poisonous one or two right at the top end of the food chain in that dressing room who influence the hearts and minds of the players around them. It's factual information. There's a case study that proves it. Look what happened. Under I think it was Jose Mourinho. I think it was most prevalent where it happened. Then on to Ollie, then on to Ranić, then on to Ten Hag, and expect absolutely the same. Absolutely the same for Amorim. But the only difference between then and now is that there's directors at the club who I think wouldn't be stupid enough to look at a player and think that one player is way more important to this football club than any manager we appoint. Way more important. Marcus Rashford is more important to Manchester United than Lionel Messi was. Prime Messi was to Barcelona. No one's thinking that. No shot. No shot. So that to me is the only clause of hope here. That Ineos won't be completely blind and ignorant to the reality that these players absolutely will flush managers down the toilet. And even if Portuguese managers don't have a record of serving for a long time at a football club, it still doesn't take away from the fact that the culture amongst the Man United players to try and flush this Amorim era down the toilet before it's even started, I think is something that has to be looked at. I think get all the medical scientists and specialists in, get everybody in, make a documentary about it, the grandest fall off from grace, in football history, Manchester United. look at the player psyche and how player power was made so rife by such an ignorant piece of shit boardroom. And we had the goddamn circus running this club for the past 10 years. And only now do we get people in that turn up at a circus that was advertised as a football club. They look at it and they think, what the fuck? Well, first and foremost, this place has a reputation as a circus. First and foremost, we've got to change the fundamentals of it. But the problem is the reputation will stay the same for several years. We will still be looked at as a banter club. We'll still be looked at as a circus for another year or 2 years, even with everything going the right way for us. Even then, you know, but it is the case that with this being, in essence, a process, you have to give the right people patience and time to do the right jobs, and it's the case that we need to see them do the right jobs for us to have the notion of patience. Because Man United fans they won't be patient. They've been embarrassed for too many times over the last decade. Um, so yeah. It always seems wrong. There's no performance related clauses in footballers' contracts. Well, that's the thing. Is maybe there is, in essence, incentive missing from the contracts that these players at Man United have, because they get paid so much money. Like the worst performers on the pitch, arguably the worst performers on the pitch, 3 players, all of them 300 plus K a week, all of them. Bruno, Casemiro, and Rashford. 3 worst performers, 3 highest paid players. That doesn't, the only way that changes is if all 3 of them go. You'd have to sell all 3. Would the club be able to do that? I mean, if somebody could tell me you can sell all 3 of these players in January and recruit a couple of replacements, not as touted as higher quality, but on lower wages, straight away I'd snap your hand off. I'll get the lesser touted quality players with the knowledge that these players actually fight for the shirt that they wear and the badge that they represent, over extortionately high paid players that seemingly are just immune from, being treated as such when they perform poorly. Like Rashford, Bruno. I think it's notably Rashford and Bruno, when these players just don't really get dropped when they should be dropped, and when they play terribly, they don't get subbed off because, power of influence, power of favoritism. And I'm really, really hoping that over the next couple of weeks, we don't see a common theme that these players are picked out of favoritism as opposed to picked out of meritocracy, and that they've actually performed well in training, they work well for the system, they look like they're up for the fight, their attitude is what's required. But yeah, I think the contracts at Man United are really, really screwed up. I'm pretty sure of it. There has to be something in the contracts. Taib Hussein says Leicester should look at Nistelrooy, might work out. Possibly, yeah. Good at stabilising a very, very quickly sinking ship. So maybe he would do quite a good job there and get them playing some decent stuff. Fuzzy went to the gym today. My mate said, "I bet you can't pick up this weight." I picked it up and shouted. And I shouted myself. Had to walk out, clenching my butt. Yeah, there you go. I wonder, was it Richard Was it Richard Herbert that told you that you couldn't pick up that weight? Because if you couldn't, then that, I suppose, is just, that was just expected. Sharting yourself, Code Brown. Rashford is back. You should be happy, Fuzzy. You're a point against your relegation rivals, mate. He goes to Michael Chelsea. So that's the funny thing is that match verdict. Some people would say that Rashford. Oh yes, he's back. Yes, amazing Rashford. Woohoo! Like, wheel out the PR statement. Woohoo! Wheel out another PR statement. Good, feels good to be back, guys. Let's absolutely nail the winning team photos in training and get in the clips of me burying it top bins in training and then fucking everything up on a football pitch the following match day. It's just synonymous. Just Rashford syndrome. We'll call it the Rashford syndrome. What you say matters more than what you do. The social media interaction carries more importance to everyone else around you than the common goal that is to make Manchester United great again. Maybe we need Donald Trump or Donald Fuzzrump, President Fuzzrump. Make Manchester United great again. At least if he had a clue about football, there might be an instance of no nonsense and corruption that he would stomp out of the football club, but can't say he knows anything about football, so wouldn't trust him as far as anybody a catapult could throw him. So yeah, pretty much, but can't so. Sharting in the chat. Still shart. I take it you sharted yourself again. Big up Fuzzy and everyone in the chat. Big ups to you as well. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen world champion today again then. Also, big ups to everyone that's voting this general election thing going on. It's like 1.25 million signatures for a petition that only needs 100,000 signatures to get recognized and discussed in government level. Absolutely mental, that is. Absolutely mental. I'll tell you one thing, you can't arrest 1.2 something million people if people in prisons are getting let out early because of spacing issues. Can you? You can't arrest that many people. But tell you what, he'll probably try and find a way. He'll probably release everybody and then arrest everybody again. What does a West Ham United fan do after winning the Premier League? Turn on the Xbox. That's true, and an Arsenal fan as well. An Arsenal fan would turn off the Xbox. Good evening, Fuzzy. Good evening. Good evening to Tony, of course. Later on tonight, folks, the Sunday Night Takeaway show at 8 o'clock in an hour's time. We'll be live again for a Sunday Night Takeaway show. So do be sure to stay tuned in for that. In Fuzzy we trust. In Fuzzy we trust. President Fuzzrump. Let's go. Arsenal will destroy United easily. If they performed like that. I think one thing is that thankfully there's another 2 games for Amram to sort of sort out 1 or 2 things, and both home games as well. I'd want to see a team get picked where the effort levels are higher, or a lot higher. I think what goes on after Everton next weekend? What's going on? Okay, so it would be Arsenal away midweek after Everton. So I think a week and a half from now, we play Arsenal away. I'm hoping that with across these two games, next two home games, that shit gets sorted out a little bit at the very least, so that we're not looking like we are absolutely um, atrocious, worst thing to ever happen. Oh, we're doing a Manchester City, sorry, doing a Manchester City. Uh, Big up Eddie Doss over TV. Are you ready for Loppy Ball tomorrow, mate? Oh, Loppy Ball, floppy Loppy. Type Hammers gets pissed drunk. Yeah. Hopefully it's D-Day for him. Don't you mean S Day? Sack Day. You hope the sacking day. Did you notice any positives or changes in tactics from your draw with Ipswich? Well, I think it's hard to say from the sense that in terms of, I'd say the identity of the formation was obvious in terms of what we were doing in possession and the shape out of possession. I think was relatively clear. Like the transition between a 3-4-3 into a five, um, into a back five. I think it's like a 5-2-3 or something. Um, the transition work was there, so I think turning over possession, unless we have really slow midfielders, if we've got tenacious midfielders with a bit of an engine and some good pace to them, I think turning over the ball and scoring against us on the break would be fairly difficult. But again, it matters what the selection of midfield, what the selection in midfield is, because we need athletes in midfield, athletes and high defensive work rate. We cannot achieve anything without a tenacious midfield. Um, Positives, I think individualistically, um, the Amad Diallo as well. It looked lively, looked up for a bit of a challenge. And defence, the back line, barring Johnny Evans, I think everybody else defensively, barring midfield and Johnny Evans, um, were a bit more lively today. Dealt with some of the issues, and Anana's looking a bit more solid, a bit stronger, not conceding any silly goals. That you'd stick the blame on the goalkeeper. I think, in essence, he should have conceded more goals today. We didn't, thanks to Andre Onana. But tactically, I think these players haven't grasped tactics yet. I'd have to give them between Bodo Glimt and Everton to really see anything tactically based. Um, so it might be the case that Arsenal game just becomes a free hit, literally just a free hit. Tony, you Budge, you watch along tomorrow night. Let's see Eli. I see you're going off tomorrow for the match. Can't wait. Ooh, I'll watch along. Ooh, early doors watch along. Not sure if Budgie will. I'll ask him though. Will be interesting. Newcastle will destroy Lopetegui, poor management tactics. We can only hope. Aces. I have Isak and Gordon in fantasy team this weekend. Gonna cook something before tonight. See you all soon. Take care, early doors. We'll see you later on tonight. Taunt. We've shown Steve Cooper the door. He's available for West Ham, Tony. Wee. There you go. Get him in. Steve Cooper into West Ham. Get him in, people. Sign another petition. another petition. Get Steve Cooper with Leicester, the West Ham job. Let's get him in there, people. Let's do it. Let's do it. So yeah, I think in terms of substitutions, I'll say with the man management of this game, relatively happy with the substitutions, how Amarim's gone about managing the players on the pitch and the players on the bench. I think seeing a lack of tenacity from Casemiro in midfield, straight away he thought, need more legs, need better energy in there. 56th minute, double substitution, brought Agate on. So Agate in there, shored things up a little bit, really limited the amount of times that Ipswich got in. Once or twice they had an opportunity that forced a save, but looked like more was getting broken down further up the pitch. And some minutes in the legs for Luke Shaw in that back three, not as a wing back at all, but as one of the three centre backs. We believe that Luke Shaw's got something to say about that position, and perhaps with a little bit of added pace, served as an improvement to Johnny Evans as well. The next double substitution that occurred was Xerxes and Højlund coming on, with Eriksen and Rashford both going off. Now, I think both of the players going off, yes, I agree with that. But the two players coming on, one of them for Rashford up top needed to happen, absolutely. Xerxes, probably not for me, because then that pushed Bruno to be further back in midfield. And it didn't really work out. Xerxes again, very, very lackluster performance. Very, very lackluster. Had one or two chances and very, very wasteful. Højlund definitely had a better game. And then the last substitution, which I thought was a bit late in the day, which was Mason Mount. I think we probably needed to see him on sooner, but it's probably thinking more about the fitness side of Mason Mount, because Mount likes to get injured pretty much every time he steps on a football pitch. So yeah, a few match day minutes in the legs for Mason Mount. I can imagine that if lackluster performances continue, yeah, we could probably expect to see Mason Mount start a little bit more. Malacia, Mainu, and Anthony all unused substitutions. No Lissandro Martinez today, and no Lenny Yoro. Yoro and Martinez coming back will be a big booster. Very, very big booster. But I think the sort of substitutions we'd make, I think pretty much 90% of everything the manager did today, he did to the best of his abilities. So I think, again, it's like you look at this and you say, for a manager to really process that a manager shouldn't take the blame for something, is to know that when he's got a bad situation, he makes the best out of it. Today was perhaps an example of making the best out of a bad situation. That team is not fit to play football. It's not fit to play football. Travels away to Ipswich and doesn't lose. We should have lost, but we didn't, right? In terms of handling that squad, he made the substitutions that he needed to make. The only gripe I would have had is that Mason Mount didn't feature soon enough for me to just in my opinion. And I perhaps would have looked at Mainu being one of the players to replace Eriksen instead of Xerxes. I would have left Xerxes on the bench and just used Rasmus Højlund. But fair to say there's some good early signs combined with lackluster individual performances. I think there's something that can be worked with I think there's a criminal issue with some of the biggest names in that team, that I think something has to give with some of those players. It has to give. It's got to give. And I'll say that I think the fan base are by mass majority absolutely 100% behind the manager against the players when it comes to this becoming a power struggle. But I think with the way that Amorim goes about dealing with his business, he's not necessarily one by track record to call players out in the media or to challenge player ambitions in the media. A lot of what he does is, defending players, and then, deal what he needs to deal with behind closed doors. So hopefully there's never ever going to be an essence of a Jadon Sancho situation. Andre Onana is your man of the match, Fuzzy. He is. He is. Most impactful player. Best outfield player was Amad Diallo. But best player outright on the pitch, Andre Onana, yeah. A lot of big saves there. Can't disagree with that, Michael. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about that, about the match performance. Whether you guys, what you think about the state of the squad, the state of some of those players, as well as what that perhaps entails. Moving on, we've got Bodo Glimt on Thursday. Again, I think a deceptively tougher game, because Bodo Glimt best in their football division, and have done relatively well in Europa League so far. So people will look at Thursday and think, oh, easy training game. Anything but, that they won't come to Old Trafford with the assumption that they're going to be absolutely played off the park. That's not going to be the case. My prediction today was a 2-1. I was one goal away from getting a scoreline correct. I was not expecting going into this game for us to run away with anything or to play really well. My biggest concern was these players wouldn't care enough. They wouldn't care enough about performing, and I was right. The same usual suspects that I had suspicions about, they didn't let me down. They fulfilled my expectation as to being bums on a football pitch. It's a crying shame for Ruben Amorim that he has to be let down so soon. But could be a double whammy with that. Or the silver lining, we should say, in this first game cloud, is that at least Amorim understands what players are really giving it and what players are not. So Bodo Glimt, the starting 11, may look considerably different than it did today. So let's take and live in hope with that, because I'd like to believe that Amorim, with all of his coaches, never had, in essence, a desire to keep playing really bad performing players or players with a poor attitude, and ultimately staying professional in how they do their jobs. Maybe we will see a much stronger team, but more so a much better response on Thursday. The Onana saves from Liam Delap. He probably should have scored at least one of his chances. Yeah, Liam Delap today had a poor game, really poor game. I think the rest of Ipswich's team, some of the build-up work they have this game, to be honest, it's not really that much like it. Yeah, of course, it's a surprise that Ipswich should beat Tottenham, but seeing how they played there with some of their passages of play, not surprised that they found ways to break down Tottenham's defence and broke down our defence today. So, yeah, seriously, Ipswich, watch out for them. Watch out for them. I think definitely underestimate them at your own peril, especially at their ground, because they will hurt you. They will hurt you. But yeah, maybe if Liam Delap decides he wants to start scoring goals, then yeah, it would have been a different day, a very very different day. But anyways, um, that's it from me. For the meanwhile, in about 43 minutes, we'll be back live again with the Sunday Night Takeaway show. Once Tont has downed a Sunday roast to such, down his chops, then yeah, we'll be back with the Sunday Night Takeaway show live over here again, and yeah, all that good stuff. Don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe, and we will see you guys back here a little bit later on. So big ups to everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, and goodbye for now.